Welcome back to another episode of Whether or Not and to What Degree. I'm meteorologist Kylee Miller alongside meteorologist Nicole Papay.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about hurricane season right now. Here in May, we tend to look ahead to that beginning of storm season, which is June 1st. And it really just marks the beginning of when our most active time is. We can get these storms really at any point during the year. It's just most likely from June 1st to November 30th.
Yeah, so the peak happens in September, but regardless, it's something that we have to talk about. We deal with it here across the Carolinas. So anything from strong winds, a lot of rain from these hurricanes that can move onshore. So there's a lot to dive into.
There is. And interestingly, the last several years have been so active as far as hurricane season goes that the averages for the seasons have actually gone up. When we talk about averages, they basically look at the National Hurricane Center and NOAA look at about a range of 30 years. And within that 30 years, they average out year to year how many storms happened and come up with a number that's kind of right in the middle. Well, because it's been so active, those numbers are going up now.
Right. I mean, just last season, I believe we had 30 named storms. So we had a lot. We were in the Greek alphabet, and we'll talk about more of that in a little bit. But our averages are coming up. So we pulled some numbers together. And from 1981 to 2010, there were 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes, where a major hurricane is a category 3, 4, or 5.
Exactly. And that's basically the average of what those 30 years produced.
Right.
The new averages are coming from an updated time frame. The new updated time frame is coming from 1991 to 2020, the most recent 30 years. And because of the activity we've seen in the tropics in the most recent 30 years, the 12 named storms that used to be the average, it's now going up to 14 as the average number of storms. We're looking at 7 major hurricanes now instead of 6.
Right.
7 hurricanes instead of 6. Major hurricanes are staying the same rate at 3. But yeah, the named storms and the hurricane potential has gone up.
Yeah, these are look at the averages, which is just incredible. And, you know, it could be dealing with the global warming, climate change. There's so many factors that go into this. So, I mean, this is just really fascinating for us to actually see the data that we are having more storms on average.
Exactly. And when we look at this kind of stuff, they really reassess this once every decade, every 10 years. So they were due to do this. This wasn't just a random thing that happened, but every 10 years they go through this. So this new 30-year period will help us have more accurate data going forward.
Right.
They're also saying that NOAA's new fleet of next generational satellites and just equipment that helps them monitor hurricanes, including the reconnaissance planes that actually fly into the storms.
Yeah.
That's something that really helps them learn more about these storms and can help qualify something that maybe looked like a tropical storm but actually became a hurricane. They might not have known that 40 years ago because the data just wasn't equipped enough to show the signs of strengthening.
Right. So meteorology is a newer science, and we're still learning so much, whether it's severe weather, whether it's hurricanes. There's so much yet to still research and to learn from just a standpoint of meteorology. So it is a very interesting fact that we are seeing now from, you know, just the averages of the hurricane season going up. We also have seen quite a few places across the U.S. The temperatures are going up too. The average temperatures.
They are.
Even if it's just by a degree or two, it's still changing.
Right. And when we talk about the warming in the atmosphere, this environmental change, the climate change, we're talking about even ocean surface temperatures. And that helps to add to the strength of these storms. When we get these massive low pressure systems and these tropical waves coming off of Africa's coast, it really does feed off of the warm ocean water. That's the base ingredient for these storms to develop. And when we talk about this warming, it just feeds these storms. It fuels them.
Absolutely. So, you know, hurricanes love when the water temperature is like 80 degrees or warmer. So it just feeds off of that. And with our temperatures, you know, averages going up, that's just representing, you know, some of these impacts that the averages are going up. So this is going to be a sight to see. And, you know, for hurricane season right around the corner, we'll have to see if it's active or not.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the actual official forecast yet. So what we're going to look for is toward the end of this month, toward likely right before Memorial Day at some point, we usually get the official word from the National Hurricane Center and the research organizations that help work with them about what this particular year's forecast is going to be. They take a lot of things into consideration: El Nino and La Nina years, different oscillations of
neutral, like all of
yeah,
that. There's so many components into it.
Kylie and I like to talk about the fact that we both have some base in education when it comes to tropics, but we are not the actual experts in it because we didn't study tropical meteorology as like a solo entity. We did more of, you know, your daily forecasting and your typical patterns for more on land.
Yes.
Each having taken classes regarding the tropics, we have some knowledge for it.
We have some, yeah. But we really do rely on the Hurricane Center.
We do.
For a lot of the information. And like you said, you know, the planes that go over the storms and gather the data, that just helps improve their forecasts and our forecasts. And it just all comes together. You know, the cone of uncertainty that we talk about from time to time, if we are tracking a hurricane or a storm, of that matter, you know, that cone of uncertainty, that all comes from the National Hurricane Center.
It does. Right. They're doing that specific forecast. And it's really important that one entity does do that.
Right.
And that every meteorologist out there, I mean, there's thousands of us, don't make our own individual predictions. That would really... I mean,
we all usually look at the same models. We have
do.
those computer models, the spaghetti plots, and you know, they show the track that model thinks that the hurricane or the storm is going to be going. But you know,
there's room for interpretation.
Exactly. Yeah, but it is very important that we have one source. This is what's happening.
Exactly. And when we talk about this National Hurricane Center, they also are responsible for naming the storms.
Yes.
And names are a kind of a big deal. There's changes to the way they're naming storms again this year. So what we're going to see now is a typical list of names, but in any normal year before this, if we ran out of names like last year, we used to go to the Greek alphabet.
Yeah, but unfortunately, but this year, they're getting away from that. So they actually have a new list of names. So they're getting away from the Greek alphabet. So this year, say we do run through the entire list of Atlantic names, they are going to go to a separate list of names, and we actually have those for you all.
Yeah, we can probably get you links on foxcarolina.com for some of these names. If you really are interested in looking at the entire list, I mean, it's long. 24 names, 26 letters in the alphabet. Let's just put that out there, right? We know there's 26 letters in the alphabet. They're not using Q or U in the names this year.
Right, for the names this year. But then I did find out for the supplemental Atlantic storm name, so say we do have to go to another list because we filled up the prior one, it says they are excluding Q, U, X, Y, and Z.
Okay. So it's a slightly shorter list.
So it is a shorter list.
I mean, listen, if we get all the way through the regular list and all the way through the shorter list, I don't think it's ever happened. So we don't really have to worry about them taking a few names away from that list.
Right.
But yeah, it's always interesting to see, you know, what names they pick.
Yes.
Let's see, Kylie, you and I are not on the list. Our names are not going to be used for.
You know, Kylee is it's a different name in the way I spell my name. You know, a lot of people don't spell Kylee, K-Y-L-E-E, like I do. So I feel like if there
there's usually an I-E for some people.
I feel like if there were to be a Kylee, it would be K-Y-L-I-E.
Well, I'm excited. Not excited.
Like
I guess I shouldn't be excited.
I mean, you could spell your name differently too. So.
Totally. People put H's in Nicole.
Right.
Yeah, that's usually the most typical one. Nicole without an H, which is how I spell it, will be a storm name in 2022.
Ooh.
So maybe I'll be a storm next year. Hopefully it'll be a really weak one.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully it's not
impact
going to be
anybody.
catastrophic.
Yes, exactly.
Let alone, who knows, it might be coming to the Carolinas.
Oh, well, listen, that's what we're here for. We're here to tell people where things are going, what's going to happen. The interesting thing and the important things to note now is that we are just a couple weeks away from hurricane season beginning. We're going to have a podcast coming up in the next week or two with some tips from the National Red Cross, things like preparation. Things like emergency preparedness.
And if a storm does strike your house, what should you do?
Right. What should you do? Where do you need to go? What kind of plan?
Yes,
there it is.
Plan is key.
The plan. So, of course, as always, we want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Whether or Not and to What Degree. We are going to be back again with more, of course, of all of your weather details, the fun nuggets of information we like to share with you on more episodes coming up. And as always, you can join us both on the morning news from 4:30 to 9 and again at 10 every weekday. Have a great day.